Ghost of Tsushima! Welcome back to another Bamcomixs review, everybody. My name is OC. Welcome back. For those of you who are just joining the channel, please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification button for more content every week and weekly on the news, the reviews, the greatest news coming from the worlds of movies, toys, games, and more, and of course Comic Kingdom. And today we're gonna get into the Ghost of Tsushima review for PlayStation 4, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let's just jump into it. So the Ghost of Tsushima, wow. I mean, first off, bravo guys, bravo to Sucker Punch, bravo to all of you who have been involved in making this game, and for those of you who have bought it, purchased it, and supported it. It's just incredible. I went to try to go buy this game. Copies were sold out everywhere. Luckily, I managed to find a copy. I brought it home on Saturday, and I played it straight through. Took me about maybe 20-25 hours that week to just finish the campaign, which is in 3 acts. And let me tell you, I was really blown away. I was surprised. I didn't think that I would get as much value as I would out of the box with this game. And it has since then risen to be one of my top favorite games of 2020. Ghost of Tsushima has an excellent story, guys. So if you're into really engaging, gripping stories, this one is for you. I mean, I opened the game, I threw it in, and immediately I'm presented with different settings. I played the entire game in Japanese. Okay, so I had the Japanese cinema option that they present to you. And then there's another layer. There's different layers that they present to you of options when you first start the game. And one of them is Japanese cinema, and another one is called Kurosawa mode. Now, and the fact that there's a Kurosawa mode where you could press it and then the game is in black and white, like an old black and white samurai movie, I thought it was amazing. So the story deals with the late 13th century Mongols who are on a quest to invade Japan. Now, the way they want to invade Japan is they want to start first with the island of Tsushima. And they invade that island first and kill all of the samurais. Like, it is crazy. Like, the game starts off with a bang. Like, you're in the middle of a war, right? Like, it's like the game opens up and it's like fighting. Like, I'm like, wow, like, okay, it's interesting. It's like they're teaching you how to play the game, but it's like action packed. Like, you start off action packed, and then since the story is like one of the best stories I've played, where the actions of the main character are reflected in the story, because you see, you play as Jin Sakai, one of the last samurais of his clan. Now, as one of the last samurais, you know that samurais are the type of historical character that fight with honor. They've always been about fighting with honor, and samurais never strike from the shadows. So there's a real conflict in the main character between being a samurai, being raised on what he's taught, and taking back the island from the invaders, protecting his people through the shadows. So, do you want to be the ghost, or do you want to be the samurai? And that's really one of the main conflicts at the heart of this game, because you see, as you go through the game, you have flashbacks, right? That, you know, flashbacks to Jin's childhood. And as the main character of Jin, you're constantly torn, right, between what you were taught. Your uncle, who's one of the characters in the game, and this game is full of interesting characters, but for me it was the uncle who, despite being captured by the Mongol, by Kotu Khan, one of the, you know, the most craziest, most evil characters probably in video game history as a villain. He's the grandson of Genghis Khan. So Kotu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, is really a badass. Like, you know, I love my video games to have a strong villain, and this is one of the strongest villains in history. The last villain I remember strong was in Far Cry, was Vaas. So he's up there with Vaas, okay? Now, that being said, there's elements of this game that borrow heavily from other games. So the story is excellent. You're being torn between the samurai and the ghost. Strike from the shadows or attack honorably, face to face, okay? And you have both options in the game. Graphics are amazing. Just you see the game for yourself. I was surprised that this is a PlayStation 4 game with graphics like this good. And the game is optimized, like my physical copy is optimized for PlayStation Pro, 4 Pro. And it's kind of like I want a PlayStation 4 Pro now to see how good this game would look. I mean, I don't think I need to upgrade to PlayStation 5 just yet. The games are still looking amazing. Sound? Amazing. Everything from the clashing of the swords, to the wind on the grass, to the flute. I mean, you get a musical instrument that you play. I mean, the samurai is really cool. Like, the game makes you feel, like, to me, like a samurai. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I thought it was great. Interface, it's very clean. I just like the way the interface is set up for you as a player. Everything is like very visually like sparse, minimalistic, but clean. You have different stances, samurai weapons, throwing knives. You have like 4 fighting techniques of, I guess, a wind stance, a water stance, a stone stance, a ghost stance. And each stance has 4 different styles. So you really have a variety when it comes to fighting. And we're going to get into that in a bit in the gameplay section. But I mean, you know, everything from cosmetics, vanity items, customizations for your characters, for the different outfits that you get, such as being the Ronin, being the samurai, being the traveler. And what I like about this game, the unique things that I like about it is that, you know, in other games you have cosmetics and different outfits. But in this game, the cosmetics actually help with the gameplay. There's outfits that you wear that can help you to be more stealthy. There's outfits that you wear that can open up the map. There's outfits that you wear that help your combat. So the fact that you have different outfits in the game with different abilities, I think is great. So I found myself switching between outfits, and the character never got old. It always felt like I was playing like with a new, fresh character, but the same one, Jin, which is excellent. What are more positive things I have to say about the game? Like, the game has so many positive things, and I really tried hard to find something negative with the game, which, I mean, I actually did find 1 or 2 things, which I'm going to get to in a minute. The whole map of Tsushima, now, this isn't as big an open world as other open worlds, okay? So I'm not going to say that it's bigger than Assassin's Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's not as huge as that, or maybe a game like, I don't think The Witcher, but it's an island and it's divided into 3 sections, okay? Just as the game is divided into 3 acts. Now, even though it's not as big as other open world games, it's still a pretty big game to me. Like, I saw it, like, it looks small, but when you zoom into the map, you see that there is a lot to do and there is a lot of ground to cover. I mean, for me, the game took about 20-25 hours to beat. I actually went ahead and I played the game straight through without any interruptions. I mean, previously, I mean, our first video game review was the Doom Eternal, but it wasn't anything like this. This, I actually sat down from the moment I got home with the game to the moment I opened it, put it in the PlayStation, and I didn't stop playing it until I finished it. And so that's why I could say, you know, with certainty that the game is worth the money that it is. So full price, if you find it on sale, you know, you're still winning either way. You get a ton of content from the game, from, you know, unlockables to missions to bases to side quests to helping strangers out to people on the road to just like everything in the game. I mean, in terms of gameplay, what we're going to talk about now, it's really robust, okay? And keep in mind that the enemies are no slouches, okay? Every enemy in this game is a threat, okay? Even if it's like from a peasant, from a simple, you know, a peasant maybe who has a weapon, to a ronin, to a samurai, to, you know, more complex enemies that carry shields and staff. I mean, we're using swords, okay? we're not shooting anything, okay? It's not a shooter, yo. It's swords, so it's sword play. So if you're gonna get slashed, you know, a large amount of your health is gonna go down. You're gonna get wounded, killed in like, you know, 2 or 3 hits in this game, which I appreciated the difficulty. So in terms of gameplay, to me, I found it difficult in the terms of you need to have skill in this game to play it. At first, the game, I was gonna give it a 10 out of 10, but you know, when you have gameplay elements that sometimes don't mesh so well, I took a point off for it. So I gave the gameplay a 9 out of 10. So here's why. Okay, so in the beginning of the game, like, you're introduced to parrying, you're introduced to a combat system, which for the most part I'll say is fluid. The issue comes when you have the camera, okay? Now, there's some times where the camera won't really pull out all the way. So in the beginning, when you're confronted with 1 or 2 enemies, okay, yeah, it's fine. There's no auto lock, so you can't really lock on to an enemy, right? It's almost sort of like the gameplay in this game is a combination of Assassin's Creed, of Far Cry, of Red Dead, of Batman, right? Arkham Asylum. And when you combine all of those elements together, you get a pretty good game, in addition to just throwing the samurai world in there. But just like Batman Arkham Asylum or Batman Arkham City, the character focuses on the attacker that's attacking him. Now, in the beginning, this is fine, right? But later on, toward the end of the game, when you're surrounded by multiple enemies running at you, and you're, you know, fighting 5 or 6 enemies at the same time, you could be attacking an enemy and then another enemy hits you from off screen with like an arrow, and you don't know where that arrow came from, okay? Even though you have the abilities to roll, you can dodge, you can roll out of danger. There's a variety of methods which to fight, which I thought, you know, gave the gameplay a deeper sense of fighting. So on the surface level, it's a simple, you know, kind of fighting combat. But when you go deeper, when you have enemies such as a shield enemy, an enemy that has a spear, an enemy that has 2 swords, you know, brutes that are like these gigantic, you know, enemies that are huge, right? So you have different fighting styles and you have to switch up on the fly. So, you know, it's like, think of Arkham, right? Batman Arkham when you're fighting, but think, you know, if you're Batman and you're fighting all of these enemies, think that if you have 5 enemies, right, or 4 enemies that you're fighting as Batman, you have to switch up 4 different fighting styles. That's how this game is, right? You're surrounded by different enemies, and as you're fighting them, you have to switch different fighting styles. It's just not like you can just fight 5 enemies and just block and fight and block and strike, right? You have to switch. So I gotta switch between my sword stance, my stone stance, my wind stance, and then, you know, and then you have objects that you throw. So in the heat of battle, when you have all of this being thrown at you, it can get a little bit, you know, it can get a little bit overwhelming, okay, to say the least. You know, it wasn't a huge problem. I thought it was actually really interesting that they did that, but you know, it can get overwhelming, especially when you're being hit off screen by enemies that you can't see, or there's some camera issues where you're fighting and then the camera goes behind the rock. You have to move the camera out of the way and you get cheap hits and everything like that. So, you know, that was, you know, my whole issue with the game. So in terms of the gameplay, I give it a 9 out of 10. Again, there's a variety to the combat, and one of the most surprising things is that, you know, this game throws new things at you a lot. Just scenarios that you don't expect, okay? Like, of course, you know, these scenarios are borrowed from other games such as Red Dead, but if you're gonna borrow from the best. So when you fight, there's times where there's duels, where you're riding through the country land and someone challenges you to a duel, which the duels were my favorite part of the gameplay fighting mechanics in this game. The duels involve, you know, they're very cinematic. Like, you can call someone out for a duel, the option appears, duel on screen is a standoff, right? It's called standoff, where like your character calls out to the enemy, and in the standoff he calls out, "Face me! Challenge me, coward!" It's like, you know, it's like a movie, and then like you see like the black bars on the screen, and it looks really cinematic, and then like there's a hush that falls over, like it's like a silence, and then you see two men in the field with the swords. You know, it's like a movie, and then it like it focuses in, and there's a close-up of you two, and then you it's crazy, guys. It is nuts. So when you're in the duel mode, if you lose a duel, you lose a lot of damage, right? You almost lose your life. But if you win, the enemy is over. Which, you know, it's crazy too, because, you know, you can't win all of the duels, but when you do win a duel, when you do get that timing right, and you look at the enemy, you gotta look at his hands, you look at the way he's holding his sword, he's gonna strike, and sometimes he tries to fake you out. It's really satisfying. So that was great. And you know, the appearance of also the slaughter mode, you know, which you can become the ghost if you stealthily you know, take out 7 enemies. I think it's 8 or 7 enemies. You become the ghost, where you go into this invulnerable mode where, you know, you slaughter everything and the screen turns red. You know, it's like a Kill Bill kind of thing, like a Red Dead, where you get like everything goes slow and you slice enemies. It's just really great. What else? The game has alternate ending. Okay, so I still have to go back and do that alternate ending. So even though I beat the game, there's still a lot to do, guys. Like, I really want to get that alternate ending, so replayability in terms of, you know, the lasting value of the game to me is high, because I want to go back, I want to explore. And again, even though the island is not as big as some other open world games, it's not going to stop me from returning to discover different parts, like, you know, places to meditate, places to unlock haikus, which when you unlock haikus that you compose, which is crazy. I've never seen this in a game before. You can make haikus. The different tests of strength that you do with bamboo to sharpen your resolve, which helps you to increase your energy. Like, the game is a solid game. What can I say? I mean, I'm probably not saying every single detail of the game, so I guess that's my review. Kotal Khan is crazy. Kotal Khan is the grandson of Genghis Khan. So, I mean, he's known for decapitating his enemies and setting them on fire. So, you know, that's the villain that you're going against in this game. You know, which is great. I mean, the boss fights in this game are great. You know, the cutscenes are well done. The variety of characters that you meet. You know, from everything from the drunkard to the thief, to, you know, your uncle, to the Ronin, to the Straw Hats. I mean, a variety of really, you know, unique characters, and, well, memorable in some aspects. The main character of Jin, you know, yeah. he'll be memorable to me. Yeah, just my final thoughts before I end this review on the Ghost of Tsushima. You know, just some quick final thoughts. They took elements from Uncharted. They took elements like when you see the platforming as he's climbing up the mountains and the rock faces and the cliffs, and use a grappling hook to swing. You know, it's like elements from Uncharted. It makes you feel like a ninja, like the game, like a samurai and a ninja. But Sucker Punch, it's like, I mean, it's like they studied all of the best, and they wanted to make their own version of an open world action adventure game, and I think for the most part they succeeded. They took elements of, you know, when you see the platforming in the game of Uncharted, you see elements of Batman Arkham in the combat, you see elements of exploration with the Far Cry, and you know, the stealth of Assassin's Creed. So, you know, you have, it's like five styles of games in one, with their own unique spin on it. And you know, to strengthening your sword with challenges and test your might abilities. It's really a beautiful game. Beautiful to look at as you're, you know, progressing through the game. For the most part, the fighting is good. Okay, there was parts where I got frustrated, but, you know, once you overcome that, once you really get to know your abilities and your swords, and you find hidden unblockable abilities that you can use against your enemies. I didn't like too much that sometimes the big bosses that you fight sometimes have moves that you don't have in terms of like unblockables, but alright, that's alright for the most part, right? So so yeah, guys, just, you know, if you have money, I suggest you pick this one up. It's absolutely great. It blew me away. And it was something that I wasn't expecting. It was a nice summer game to play, right? A nice summer surprise. So, you know, quarantine cut! Guys, I forgot to mention that in my rush to tell you everything about the Ghost of Tsushima, I forgot to mention two key things, so we're just recording it a little bit right after, but you're going to see it right now. So, two things. First, there's no mini-map in the game, so follow the wind. And if you follow the wind, you'll be all good. And two, 9 out of 10 game, guys. So, Ghost of Tsushima, gotta pick this one up. Highly recommend it. 9 out of 10. Go and get it. And as you see, it's so good. Took my hair off. Peace, guys. Thanks for watching. You know, let's say goodbye to the PlayStation. Let's wave goodbye to the last exclusive on PlayStation 4, Ghost of Tsushima. So, if you guys agree, if you guys disagree, if you guys like the review, leave a comment in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button for more content, more weekly updates, more reviews on games, on comics, on movies, on toys, on everything, on unboxing, entertainment, and hit that notification for our next video. Okay, so guys, thanks for watching. This has been my review of Ghost of Tsushima, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.